Let me introduce you Bernard Benhamou, General Secretary of Institute of Digital Sovereignty and a former international delegate of internet usage. And I stop here because we are late, but it will take more time, too much time. So please, the floor is yours.
Thanks for this invitation, and I would add just one function that I'm very proud of, that the first coordinator of the IoT European ministerial meeting during the previous presidency of the European Union. I'm here to talk about a very boring subject, usually, politics. But we are at this moment at it has been said already, at a shift, at a change. We have had two major crises impacting directly the ecosystem of technology in Europe and worldwide. Indeed, the COVID crisis that have revealed our dependency, our need for development of technology, but also revealed our lack of major players in the field of technology in Europe. And after that, the war, Ukraine war, which is also reshaping, changing the shape of the global tech and economical ecosystem. There are words that we never knew before that are becoming obvious. For example, Janet Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury in the US, have introduced a new notion, which is friend-shoring, which means that we are beyond the current state of the supply chain in the world, which was organized with and for China. And now we have to reshape those relationships with businesses, with friends, that's the name, friend-shoring. And friends sharing some values, friends sharing some global stakes in the current system and not wanting or not willing to undermine those systems. That is a direct consequence of what we have seen during those last 3 years, and especially the last one. We need to introduce in our thinking the notion that what we considered as granted in the past, meaning that most countries were willing to adapt to global competition. It's not true anymore. What we see now is, and it has been said previously, that we see continents, we see countries reacting in isolation, or at least in a different view of competition. Let's talk about the US. The US have introduced their famous or infamous Inflation Reduction Act, which is changing completely the landscape, especially for technology. And for once, Europe has understood that the vision of the free and open market that it had in the past was not completely in tune with the current situation. Then we had some development of something that was called old-fashioned or quaint in the past, which was industrial policy for Europe and for European member states. Because in the past, and I can tell you because I was in European meetings, in European negotiations, when we talked about that, we as French were looked upon as old-fashioned, because it was a free and open market after all in Europe. But we are paying it dearly. We are paying it to the point of our new and excellent European Commissioner, Thierry Breton, is saying we have to end with some kind of illusions, naivety we had in the past, and understand that we have to protect, not to be protectionist, but to protect some of our markets and to develop some of our markets. That's why they made that new package about zero-emission technologies, like never before it could have been envisioned. And I can tell you, I was a European negotiator for a long time. Never ever the Germans, never ever our friends at the European Commission could admit that. And more recently, yesterday, in France, the battery for electric cars are being given incentives if they are made in Europe. with low emission energy, meaning clean energy. That's a complete shift in the way the people from the Commission, that I know for a long, long time, have been behaving in the past. There are also new words that are becoming, not new words, old notions, but that were completely banned in Europe, that are becoming key for the future. First is having what we have been needing for decades, a Small Business Act, meaning the possibility for the procurement in Europe and in European member states, both, to go to some lengths, to some proportion, to small and medium enterprises. For information, the Small Business Act exists in the US since 1953. That's not exactly new, but it had worked very well so far for them. And when I was saying that 10 years ago, I was completely sidelined. Completely. It was impossible to hear it. Now it's part of the obvious. We need to help states, state money, to go help small and medium businesses to develop. A lawmaker in France has been making a report about that, saying that €1 in buying for a customer equates €7 in subsidies, meaning it's a much more powerful leverage tool than giving money at the first. And that is something that has been completely ignored for decades, saying, oh no, it will never fly with WTO. It will never fly with the European Commission. It will never be considered legal, and it's wrong. It is legal if you focus on innovative companies, not, like I often say, if you want to subsidize the food truck. No, but for innovative company, you can do that. And that's precisely what we have to do in the near future. I've also heard the European Buy Act that some are talking about. That can be interesting, and we were talking about that for batteries, for electric cars, but it doesn't envision the size of companies. So if the money of procurement goes especially to big or very big players, that will not be helpful. We need to help those companies in Europe who are innovative and who can develop on a global scale, not only European scale, but global scale, to develop from the start and to evolve with customers, not only with money, with funding, with VCs, no, with customers. And the state, even if it pays in a very long time, it pays, always. That's the difference. And last part, what we are seeing now is also a change in the way we consider technology. We have seen a lot of crises about technology, about data, about the way those technologies are used to harvest those data, to mine those data, to treat those data, sometimes with risks for the persons, sometimes with obvious risks for democracy. Ask for our American friends what they think about Cambridge Analytica and its role in the previous election, in the 2016 election of Donald Trump. It was on a very narrow margin, and then on that narrow margin, the impact of political campaigns based on social networks was obvious. So, at this moment, Europe, who has been seen in the past as completely closed on a legal point of view, meaning that we were the continent of regulation where China and America were the continents of business. That's not a fate we want to continue. We are not doomed to be only defensive. We need to be offensive, and we need to have regulation, and I'm talking from a personal point of view on that, our regulation to be innovative, smart, and not only for defending our principles. No, we need our regulation to be the guiding tool, the guiding sword, to develop our ecosystem, not to consider being only defensive, but consider that with regulation we can put in front another way. That's what Breton and a few others, like Charles Michel at the European Commission, has been talking about, the third way or the first way, whatever. A new way that is more protective to citizens and their data, that is more trusted and more secure than what we see in the US, with the obvious lack of a global federal regulation on privacy and data. And they know it's a current dangerous situation for them, but the lobbying of big techs is so huge that it's difficult to change. And on the other side, in China, we see a total lack of privacy, with the state knowing everything about you. Maybe some of you have heard about the social credit system, which is an Orwellian kind of technology that is put in front to control the political minds in China. We have the possibility, after GDPR, after all the texts currently in development in the European Commission, DSA, DMA, AIA for artificial intelligence, DGA for the Data Governance Act, I could quote many more. We need those texts to be put in front to create an ecosystem here, which is the word for the day, an ecosystem here that could be seen as more reliable, more protective of freedom of citizens, and which can be exported not only in the 27 countries of Europe, but everywhere. We have been exporting the GDPR in 85 regions and countries. We need to do the same with European technology, and what I wish to you all is to be part of that next chapter of a more realistic view on technology in Europe, where we can be not only a consumer continent, that we are, and it's a bad situation to be the consumer of technology created elsewhere, because we are becoming dependent and not being able to put our values, our democratic values, our civic society values, our business values in front. We need that. We cannot be naive anymore. That's the next chapter that I wish all of you will be part of in the near future. Thanks.